Good. Welcome to the Stanley St Social, Max Gawn.
Thank you for having me. I've been a big fan, long-time listener.
Long-time listener, first-time owner.
First-time owner. I mean, we've collabed for a while, Alex.
27th of August, 2018.
Yep.
Max Gawn's debut on the show.
2018.
2018.
I felt like it was earlier than that.
And not according to the
And
to
that
the
was at the
post.
old school Map Studios,
That was at the first Map Studio, our
Yep.
original sponsor.
Yep.
Matt Keenan, very good friend of the show now, but also at the time, like, Keno was the reason we got most of our guests.
You just went for a Keno.
It went through Keno.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it came across my desk for a Keno. I don't know how I knew Keno.
You were Twitter friends.
Okay, so I used to reply to him cycling questions, did I?
Keno said, I don't know Max Gawn. Obviously, I was a D's fan.
Yes.
I don't know Max Gawn, but he always replies to my tweets.
Yep. All I remember is you guys asking me a question on that show, who my favourite cyclist was, and I said Jens Voigt because I panicked and I tried to think of someone outside of the square or the box.
Yeah.
And I said Jens Voigt, and he's nowhere, has never been my favourite, nor has he been in my top 50 riders of all time.
Yeah.
And I said Jens Voigt, and I've always regretted that answer to that question.
But I still remember on that podcast, we were chatting footy. We were chatting like your career, and it was just like, just meander along, standard. And then we started talking cycling, and you started talking about racing, and it was like, oh, this guy actually knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, and then you and Cambo were struggling to keep up. That was my recall.
Okay, yeah. Cambo especially.
Yes.
But we had Sammy Menegola on the show, I remember, a couple of weeks before. We're going through a real
I've seen him in the VIPs at Cadell's a couple of times.
Loves cycling.
Yeah.
But doesn't know anything about sport.
Okay, so he's more of the bike rider.
So he was like, yeah, I just can't wait to get back to Perth. Can't wait to go riding. Love training. Love like everything about it.
Yeah.
Whereas you could talk the talk.
I get asked that question a little bit. I'm not sure. I haven't seen your run sheet today, and for a good purpose. Like the love for cycling, I split the two: cycling as the activity, and then cycling the sport.
Yeah.
The cycling, the sport love came first for me. The activity came. It's almost never come. I love watching cycling. I like riding my bike.
Do you think it could come?
Yeah, I think it, particularly when injury threat goes away. I got a strong correlation between too much cycling and my hamstrings. And there's also not willing to ride in too many groups. Group riding is the passion for a lot of cyclists. I don't feel comfortable in a group with an injury threat over my head. I think the love will come, particularly off the road. I think after doing a few things on my mountain bike and watching gravel riding, I think that could be me.
Yeah, well, recently I kind of refound my love through the gravel stuff.
Yes, I think that's something. I don't think I'm ever going to be that way as a spectator. I think I'm always going to be road, unless the Olympics come along and I watch the BMX. That's sorry for any BMX fans, but I feel like that's the only time anyone ever watches BMX, once every 4 years. I think road will always be my favourite. We're going to dabble at track December 18.
Yep. We'll be at the Austria Wheel.
What's it called again?
The Austria Wheel race.
The Austria Wheel.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm keen to explore and see if I can find the love for cycling as the activity again.
Yeah, I think a lot of people find it in that group scenario, which you talked about you can't do.
But I've never not liked it.
Yeah.
Always like getting out on the bike. Commuting, I like commuting.
Yeah.
That's a different style of riding again, commuting.
Yeah. When we first had you on the pod though, what were you thinking?
I gave me the compliment to start, but I felt like I was nowhere near the knowledge that I have nowadays on cycling. I actually felt like I was out of my depth a little bit, but could talk about the activity a lot because I'd done a lot of it. I've done 3 peaks, not the famous Victorian one, but went to Tasmania and did 3 peaks.
Arguably more famous.
Yes, and I would say, oh no, is it more harder? Cradle Mountain's one of the peaks, and it's 30 k's at like 3%. It's a bit easier, but it's a long drag. There was one, I'm not sure which one it was, but it was the hardest climb still to this day I've done. was the first of the peaks. If anyone did Tassie Peaks, the first of the peaks was incredibly hard. I was going like for an hour, I reckon it would have been. I reckon I was averaging 7 kilometres an hour. Like it was horrible. So if anyone remembers what that climb was, that was tough. So I could talk about doing cycling like Menegola.
Yeah.
I didn't think I'd be able to keep up to date with the current UCI and what was happening because I was a Tour de France guy.
Yeah.
I wasn't a Belgian Classics, Italian one dayers. What else am I into? South American finish line.
Big Giro guy.
Now I'm a big Giro guy, big Volta guy, but I was a Tour guy then. I was your, how you would describe an Australian cycling fan. I was a Tour de France and I rode my bike.
Do you remember when that started?
I think you lit something that day. I do in terms of when I officially started watching cycling.
Or both, now that you point the second point out?
Officially started watching cycling. I was up late at night on SBS like all young kids. That can be dangerous.
Dangerous space.
Yeah, dangerous space. Fun space. South Park and Fat Pizza. I think that was a Tuesday night. That was always a good combo. But then obviously cycling would pop onto your screen, particularly in July. And that's where I sort of fell in love with it. I was doing the activity as well. My school was a big bike riding school. We did Great Victorian Bike Ride pretty much every year, which as a kid is great. As an adult, you're just annoyed that there's all these school kids on the road. I don't know why adults do that ride because there's a lot of school kids and that would be annoying, I would dare say, out on the road. But as a kid, I absolutely loved it. That was 100K a day. There was one up in Bright. There was one Great Ocean Road. There was one Gippsland. They're the three I did, I'm pretty sure. And they're pure. So I found the love of the activity, and then all of a sudden you see Cadel Evans on TV. Then you start watching that. And my early stages of Tour de France cycling watching is the more iconic battles of all time of Contadors and Schlecks, late Lance Armstrong, Cadel. It was a pretty cool time to be a cycling fan.
Mm. So it was the accidental, I'm trying to watch Fat Pizza on SBS and all of a sudden the Tour de France is on.
And also, I'm a sport lover and I'm interested in riding my bike. Then when you fall onto the Tour de France, okay.
Yeah. Did you have someone explain it to you though?
Nah, that was purely, and I think this is Keno's strength as a commentator, although back then he was like, he got given the first hour. Then I think Phil came on.
They're in a graduation phase.
Yeah, so I think he did the first hour. And Keno's strength, if you've never watched cycling, watch cycling with Matthew Keenan commentating because he can really dumb it down at the same time as be not annoying for an experienced. Like I still listen to Keno now and I'm not annoyed.
Yeah.
But certainly as a young kid trying to learn the sport, he certainly helped. And I think I get obsessed with stuff. So I did a few deep dives. And then the second part to that I opened up myself, you lit a fuse that day to go full in cycling.
Yeah.
Let's go find this Pro Cycling Stats website and let's just spend a couple of hours on this.
Can you remember where you went to? Like, was there a race on around that or was there...
When were we? February.
Yeah, it was Spring Classics time.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have known much about Spring Classics. I would have done that interview not knowing there was 5 monuments.
Yeah.
That's how naive I was.
Yeah. And look how far you've come.
It's amazing.
In terms of you as a kid riding, were you good? And were you good at sport?
Good at sport, particularly footy, obviously. I was always in the first few in our bike riding. So the Great Victorian Bike Ride, for example, if you leave at 8 a.m., got to get there by camp opens at midday, and then you go quickly try and find your camp spot, try and get the best camp spot possible. I was always one of the ones from my school that had to try and find the camp spot. I was one of the first few to finish every time. And I was a bit skinnier then. I was a lean kid. I was actually a skinny, tall ruckman for a long time. Now I reckon, particularly because I've befriended a lot more people that like cycling over my time, I would be the worst of my friends, I think, just purely because I'm 110 kilos.
Yeah. That
hurts on the bike, unless I'm on a flat beach road for as long as possible. And 2, I don't do enough riding compared to a lot of my mates.
Yeah. Have you been a good bike rider?
I don't think so. We had a year under Neil Craig and Mark Neild when they were coaching. Neil Craig had dabbled into the cycling world for a tiny bit and had Charlie Walsh.
Yep.
Charlie Walsh come and did a pre-season with us, who is, I think he coached the 2000 track team in and around that era.
And notorious for the volume of training.
Been crazy, yeah. We all got really good on a watt bike that pre-season, that off-season. And I was regularly, my wattages for 20 minutes were regularly in and around the 400s. But that's on a stationary bike without doing power to weight. So whatever that comes down to. But I was the end of that pre-season, I was a talented watt biker.
Did it help, or was that just the start of the that was just the hardest start of the hamstrings?
Don't ride bikes on the MCG is one thing Jordan Lewis said when he rocked up. Do not ride bikes on the MCG.
Can you remember when you were good at footy?
I think I still am now. Am I still good at footy now?
Were you exceptional at the moment?
Remember where I started?
When you started, were you like was it? Did you turn 16 and you're like, holy shit, I'm good at this
No,
sport?
I was a public school system, which is different to majority of people. A lot come through the private school system. And I moved areas as a young kid. So under 14s, I was at Langwarrin and then came up to McKinnon. So I moved the whole football, like I was Danny Stingrays, then I was Sandy Dragons in terms of representative teams. So I missed all that. I think you'd be at Dragons from under 12s. I think there's under 12s, under 14s, under 16s, under 18s. I didn't get picked up to the rep team till my top age of under 18s. So
you weren't playing in the
I was best and fairest
top level.
Best and fairest
what does that mean?
Best and fairest for my local team. So I was always a good player, but I just never got picked with the representative team because I moved areas, and then just struggled to once you're in the 16s, you're in the 16s, and the 18s get picked from the 16s. I just never got into that setup. And then one day they came down and watched me play local, and I played a good game. Got a call up to play Dragons. Played 6 or 7 Dragons games and did my knee, and that was it.
So did you think you were good?
I knew I could mark the ball. I've always preferenced marking.
Which is important.
I've always liked marking. Still to this day, I could kick 5 in a prelim, which I have, or I could take 8 contested marks in a random home and away match, which I also have, and that's the game I think's better. I'd take mark of the year over the goal of the year 10 times, and I could always mark the ball. So that's one thing that I like doing. I played above age groups, and I would mark the ball. Did I know? I always thought people were better than me. I still do. And there was a couple of young ruckmen in the Sandy Dragons that were highly regarded. And you just think they're better than you. They're funny. They had careers. Tyrone Vickery was one who went to Richmond, pick 8, I think he was. Luke Loudon was one. He went to Hawthorn and Adelaide. Didn't play many games. And Tom Campbell, who's funny enough at Demons. Those 3 were already at Sandy Dragons. They didn't need the extra ruckman. That's probably why they didn't pick me.
Yeah.
And I was skinny, really tall and skinny.
But now you're the greatest of all time.
Your words, not mine.
Many people's words. Isn't that strange that you weren't a rock star at 16, 17?
I mean, I've played with rock stars throughout that whole year, and some of them don't even get drafted. So, you got to time your run to be a rock star. You want to be a rock star when you're 25, not quite when you're 17. You need to be good enough to get picked up. The recruiting would be the hardest job in any sport in the world. To be able to find talent and character, and to know, I think Jack Watts should have played 300 games. I think Jack Watts is a star. But every single club says they would have taken Jack Watts at 1, you know? It's and then in hindsight, people go, maybe Nick Nat-Nui should have been 1. It's so hard to pick that. Yeah. Jack Watts is a bad example because I actually think he's a gun. I'm trying to think of someone else that might have gone pick 1. Anyway.
But I guess talking about Jack Watts, him versus you, assuming Jack was a superstar, you're going through the draft.
He was a rock star at Dragons. He was a Dragons. He was a rock star. I rocked up in my first day because I got called up halfway through the season with my bags. I'm like, oh my God, that's Jack Watts. And
he's walking around the club with aura of Jack Watts versus you that you walk in as a...
I'd much rather the way I did it. Wattsy had the pressure of pick 1 for a while. Some pick 1s for some reason have a lot of pressure. Some don't. I mean, particularly interstate, I feel like Cam Rayner and Logan McDonald, who are both pick 1s, don't think they have any sort of. No one even remembers if they'll pick one. They just sort of gets. But for some reason, Jack Watson, Tom Scully were just, these guys were definitely known as they were pick ones.
Something about where the D's were at the time.
Potentially, yeah. Potentially pick ones who are I mean, they all go to struggling teams, but the D's at the time.
Like, I remember being at school, and I clearly remember Jack Watts getting drafted at the D's.
Yeah, he was still at school.
Yeah, being like, oh my God, this is our saving grace.
He debuted at King's birthday, and he was still at Brighton Grammar in year 12. Can you imagine how much of a rock star he was at school?
Yeah. It was when Heath Shaw put him into the...
Yeah, it was a bit that happened that day.
Do you...
200 games later, Watsy. I think that's one thing. I don't know why we're stuck on Watsy, but I do think he's had a hard rap. He's played 200 AFL games from pick one. I'm not like only 5% of players get to 200 games.
But don't you think it's interesting, that difference between you two in terms of your status as a 17, 18-year-old?
We lived together for a year as well in Brighton. He's actually, I hope I get a text the week after this drops. He's a listener.
Really?
Loves cycling. Always texts me during the big races. He's a 2018 Max Gawn fan.
Yeah.
He will text me during the big races going, oh, do you reckon they'll catch Pogie here?
We should check in with Jack annually to
see interview him.
To see how it progresses.
Let's interview him. Anyway.
So do you think that your status as a 17-year-old plays to how you formed as an athlete? And I'm really interested too, because now we see Paul Sextus at the Tour de France. He's 19.
Yeah.
Like, these guys are rock stars.
Yeah, I think I was that far down the pecking order that if I wasn't 208 centimetres, I dare say I wouldn't have been on a list. Yeah, I don't know how to answer the question without talking about myself too much.
You are the guest.
I am the guest. I feel like it's young tools is hard. I don't think you want to be good at 16. I'm not sure how many high draft pick tools there are and how many have dominated. Like Phil Thorpe's doing pretty well now, pick 2 or pick 3 or whatever he was. But a lot of the other tools, like, are a lot further down the draft. I just think it's a harder game, the young tools, than it is for the smalls. But in terms of, would I have been ready to go at 19? I thought I was. And there has been players that have been. And to be fair, Dacos probably could have won a Brownlow at 19. So there is the outlier, which is Paul right now.
Yeah. But we're also going to see, I just not worry, but I'm like interested in where cycling goes, from the sense that it's getting younger and younger and younger, but there's still guys that are getting good at 21, 22, 23.
Footy's trying to go the other way. I know there's been regular chats about having a year between VCE and getting drafted. So you have a year to get your life going before you become an AFL player, which I think everyone loves but a 17-year-old, because they want to play footy the following year.
Exactly. Not everyone needs that, though. I
like the idea of cycling mandating you have to be 21 to be in the Pro Tour or something. Like, I get this is a cool narrative, Paul, but you'll still get that narrative in 2 years when he joins at 22 after winning every junior world title possible.
Yeah. I think that works if there's somewhere for him to race. Like, there's development teams, but there's no like real structure of like, where does he go?
That's one thing that blows my mind a little bit, is we're been relatively lucky to know some people at TDU and Cadell's, and you hear about how hard it is to get a bike race on the road, from closing down roads, police, ambos, infrastructure around. In Europe, there is a junior race, a Pro Conti race, and a world race all on the same day, all in the same country, just blocking roads left, right, and centre. Yeah.
Although, remember, we did talk to Heinrich Hausler, and he was saying that there was that case of he moved from Inverell, where there was 10 people in his bike race, to Germany, and there was 200, and it's as an under 14.
Yep.
And now he's seeing his kids are going to bike races, and there's just not that.
Back to no one.
It's back to no one. But that's where the sport in Australia has always struggled. It's getting that funding and structure and organisation and permits and insurance and everything else that comes with it.
Australia's biggest strength, and I've seen this with growing my kids, is sport is, you have to do sport. You go to the local park and go, oh, what sports are they signed up for?
Yeah.
Where do they do swimming? Like, swimming's like a thing. Like, if you don't know how to swim, you're almost, what were your parents doing?
Can you walk?
Yeah. It's like, but then if you went to a different country, in somewhere in Asia or South America, they haven't done a swimming lesson in their life.
Yeah.
So Australia's got a real big strength. We're all sporty. Sport is in our life. The weakness is there's so many sports. We haven't picked one. India have cricket. All their money goes to cricket. We've picked 15 sports. And unfortunately, the budgeting for some and also participation rates goes down. Like George's and Louis are both I'm going to try and put them in every sport. Hopefully cycling is one. But they can't do 7. You know, they got to, like, if I was in even the States, it's 3. It's NFL, it's ice hockey, basketball, or baseball, 4.
Mm-hmm.
Footy, Australia is like, America's a bad example because they do got track and field as well, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. And the scary part is that we're staring down the barrel of the back end of Jerry Ryan's investment in sport.
Yeah.
Which has been the backbone of cycling for the last 20 years. Really? You got some kind of side business you haven't told me about?
This is where I take over. No, I don't have the money that Jerry has, unfortunately.
We don't. I'm keen to hear about Jim Stynes and him as a mentor in that kind of that athlete space around that 17, 18, 19, 20.
Jim was more, I think athletic performance goes hand in hand, particularly with me, with embracing your difference and embracing the off the field life simultaneously with your on field. So Jim is a mentor. Like I've had a ruck coach, Greg Stafford, pretty much my whole career. He's now at Collingwood, but he was there for the majority of it. And he teaches me my on field stuff. And a lot of that goes to Greg Stafford. But Jim was like, it's okay to be the person you want to be. It's hard enough playing AFL, being someone else. Focus on being Max Gawn out there. He was just this voice of reason in the back of my head. Footy's just one thing, mate. It's not that hard. Life's harder. Like all this sort of great stuff comes from Jim. I only knew him for sort of 3 years and then he passed away. For those that don't follow AFL, listen to our podcast, Jim Stynes was like a 240-game Irish player who came and played AFL straight from Ireland, won a Brownlow, then became the president of our football club and was terminally ill at the same time. So I got to know him when he was terminally ill, and he just randomly decided to become my mentor. And the weirdest thing is, if you ask me today who is your now mentor, I would answer Jim Stynes. And I haven't spoken to him for 15 years, obviously because he's passed away. So the knowledge and the words of wisdom that he gave me, unfortunately, an 18-year-old couldn't really take in. I was a cool 18-year-old, remember? I was smoking darts, not really interested in footy. I didn't want to have a coffee with Jim Stynes about embracing my difference. But he said it enough that it's sewed in the back of my head that eventually now it's working. Like it's working now. It's in my head now.
Yeah. What was it, values or was it messages, or like what do you use now? What's stuck?
Embrace your difference.
And what does that mean? What did that mean to Max at 19 versus
at 19
now?
In football? And I dare say every sport is the same. There's a prototype. And cycling, I'm presuming right now everyone's like, be more like Poggy. Yeah. At AFL, particularly at Melbourne, it was be like your captain, James McDonald, who was a pretty hard-edged type A footballer, or comparison to another footballer around the AFL. So I was tall. It was, you will be Aaron Sandlands for us. And those that have watched Aaron Sandlands play, he's got a great, unique style to himself. I am not Aaron Sandlands. Like, it's like, I love the fact that he was a gun, but I'd like to be a completely different player to him. But I was like, you will be Aaron Sandlands, and within these 4 walls, you will behave like James McDonald. And I just struggled with that concept to a point where I probably wasn't nailing the values of the team as well. So ideally, what you want is you want someone to be able to nail the 4, whatever the values are, nail the 4 values of the team, and then do whatever they want outside of that. And my best example, without knowing, I feel like is Dusty Martin. I feel like Richmond would have 4 values and Dusty would be ticking them off. But I dare say us those 4 values, he is Dustin Martin, every inch of the word. So that was sort of me. I was struggling to work out who Max Gawn was, for one, and then also I was struggling to be that person at the football club. And Jim was like a constant one in the background just going, no, keep working on it, keep being Max, keep showing up.
Were there things where you were like, you're going to Jim being like, I'm not being Max?
No, that's where my regret is I didn't engage with Jim as a genuine 2-party mentorship. I sort of was just getting texts from him getting phone calls from him.
What,
I was 19. I wasn't ready for a mentor.
Yeah, why did he keep text messaging?
I don't know. I must have reeked of being different. For him to attach himself to me from that young age, he must have gone, geez, this guy's a Fruit Loop. I'm going to help him out.
And you're playing okay football.
Not at that point. I was seen as when I went pick 34 or whatever it was, everyone was like, we got a steal here. Like, I was seen as someone that could be good. I played some good VFL football. My 4 games that I reckon he was alive for, I was okay. I was this young ruck that was doing okay things.
Yeah. Have you played that role for someone?
I will definitely post footy. I'm probably a little bit but I play that role for hopefully 45 players currently as captain. But then I'm probably a little bit more to the rucks about more the Greg Stafford role with me, teaching them the nuances of the game.
When did leadership become a thing?
They say you're born with it, don't they?
You?
No, I don't think so. I was the one, Nathan Jones used to always say to me, and it used to get me real inspired. So I do this to young leaders now as well. He goes, you'll be captain one day. I'm like, shut up, Nathan. like while we're both there having a dart. I'm like, no, yeah. I'm not be captain, mate. Disclaimer, Nathan Jones has probably never had a dart. So I always had that, and it was because I'm slightly extroverted inside my safe space. I'm slightly extroverted. I feel like we're all extroverts in safe space and introverts when we're outside of our safe space. So once the club was safe to me, so 5 years, I'm myself. That 5 to 8 year mark, I'm really growing into a footballer, growing into myself. All of a sudden, I'm extroverted, and people will follow me whether I like it or not. That was what Nathan used to keep saying to me, and I'm like, yeah, but. And they used to get in trouble. They're like, people are following you, mate. Stop making shit decisions. I'm like, I'm not telling them to follow me. Like, they can be their own person, but that's what was happening. I was constantly getting their feedback, and I was struggling with it. I'm like, I don't want to be a leader, man. I want to do my own thing. Why people? And then I eventually started to love it and embrace it. So I think, without sounding egotistical, I think people following me was something I was born with, but leadership wasn't. But funny enough, isn't that leadership? The people follow you. You must have some sort of tool. Because what is leadership? I'm a completely different leader to. I'm trying to think of some of the best leaders in the world currently. Like Richie McCaw from the All Blacks. His whole book on legacy. I'm a different leader to that. That's seen as A+. He might look at me and go, but there's different ways to skin a cat. Unfortunately, I've given a cat analogy. Sorry, Tabiri. So that's throwing me now talking about Tabiri and cats. Tabiri.
Did you, in terms of that different ways of having leaders, did you shape that? Or is that's just what it is? That's just what you're going to get with Max?
From a lot of, funny enough, I did a little speech today, so it's right in my head. I stuff up from a leadership point of view every day. Hopefully I do more good than bad, but I think that's important, that you're learning along the way. So this leadership journey has not been linear. It's been ups and downs and all sorts, and but I've been vulnerable to accepting that I've stuffed up. I journal, and that's one thing that's able to get. I don't revisit my journal, but I certainly go from information in my head, put it on paper, and that helps me. Helps me clear my mind. Not only, I think it just gives me a half an hour to work on myself, which is a great positive endorphin you can get. But journaling is mine. And I have 5 or 6 key leadership values, and I reckon I go away from them monthly. I constantly stuff up, which I think people gravitate to. They don't see me as someone that's doesn't make a mistake, class grade A student. I'm not that person. I'm a little bit more rough around the edges. I can relate to literally every single person on the list. I've almost been delisted. I've been the best player in the team, the worst player in the team. I've been on good money. I've been on bad money. I've been playing good VFL football, bad VFL football, good AFL football, bad AFL football. I've been injured. I've been literally everywhere. So it allows me to relate to a lot of people. Where most captains, growing up, what I thought captain was is You're the best player in the team. You've been in the AFL squad. You've never played a VFL game. You're perfect. You don't drink. Like, literally, that was my, that's the captain. So when Jonesy goes, you'll be captain one day, I'm like, oh, mate, I'm not giving up the booze.
So you open 2 wine bars.
Yeah, so I open 2 wine bars. Doing it my way.
Yeah. So those values that you have they just evolved? Was that they formed over time?
Learnings, yeah. I don't think the values I have as a leader now, well, deep down is what I really wanted. A lot of it is how I am unhappy with how I handled myself in my first 4 to 5 years. Like, it's how we speak to each other professionally, working on yourself, allowing people, embrace the different, allowing people to be whoever they want. Type A and Type B people in the same room and allowing both to shine. There's a lot of different key learnings I've learned along the way, but those are like the sort of main 4 or 5.
How do you embrace the different from a team perspective?
That's tough.
And I think it's really interesting in cycling because think about the differences in a cycling team. It's wild.
Yeah, so I'll give you 2, and they'll both be more than happy to me talking about it because I think they both love the fact that they're this type of person. So Type A, Simon Goodwin, Jack Viney. They're Type A type people. They're very structured. They love, like in football world, they love contested ball. They love tackling. They'd run through a brick wall. Type B, Ed Langdon. So like Type A, Jack Viney on his day off would box, maybe do some jiu-jitsu, maybe follow that off with some judo, and then go watch 4 hours of Vision. Like, that's Type A. I'm over exaggerating that, and Jack Viney's got a very good balance on life, but that's like an over stereotyping Type A. Type B, Ed Langdon. Like, instead of doing all that, we'll go paint a picture in the park of the surroundings that he can hear. Like, that's Type B. And in adversity, a lot of the time when we lose by 60 points, let's say we lost to West Coast on the weekend by 60. For those that are playing at home, this is filmed a couple of weeks beforehand. Let's say we lose by West Coast by 60. Kingy, I'll use Goody as the example. Goody would come in and go, oh, adversity's hit. I need to celebrate Jack Viney because Jack Viney's doing everything right. So he'll get up, Jack Viney, what do you do during the week? I did boxing, I did jiu-jitsu, watched 4 hours of, and Type A is celebrated and Type B is neglected. So then Type B people try and become Type A, which is not. So you got to find that happy mix. So every now and then when adversity hits, you know what? It might be powerful to say, Ed, what did you do? And he goes, because Ed's still playing as good footy as Jack was. What did you do? Oh, I went and painted the picture. Yeah, right. So it's celebrating Type A and Type B. I'm Type B, if you haven't realised in this, and learning from James McDonald and Jack Viney and Nathan Jones, who have been Type A leaders in my life, have made me really well balanced. So I've learnt Type A qualities while the staying true to myself is bringing in this Type B and allowing that to lead, allowing Type B to lead. Because people don't see the Type B, there's all over the AFL now. And this is presuming, this is judging from the outside, but it looks like Alex Pearce and Darcy Moore and these sort of guys are Type B leaders. And it's cool to see that. James Sicily, like, it's cool to see that around the AFL now. Who knows if that's actually the case? They could be Type A. I'm stereotyping from judging books by its covers, but.
Mm-hmm. And so, I guess, how does that play into the, like, now as your leader, how do you implement that into your leadership, into the play, into the game, into the squad?
This is all sort of off the field. I dare say on the field, I couldn't care if I'm talking to a Type A, B or C. You got to get that done right now. On the field changes a tiny bit, but off the field, the relationship and chats you have around, that's why it's so good to have leadership groups. Jack and I have been a combination now for 7 years, captain and vice captain, and we are 2 completely different people. But we have very similar values and want the best for the Melbourne Football Club. So our conversations are bliss. Like, they are so good. We come from polar opposites to get to a point where, like, there we go. Like, I'm so glad we had this meeting. And we've both come a long way. I've learnt the Type A in me. I'll still run for a brick wall if I have to. Like, Jack does it for fun, but I'll still do it. And I'm sure Jack would love to paint a picture at the park one day. Like, he's come that way. Mind you, I've never painted a picture at the park. I just feel like that's very Ed Langdon.
Yeah.
Maybe doing a cycling pod full time during a football season is quite type B.
Yeah. Ed would probably say the same thing. In terms of the team performance, like you've seen the highs and lows of that from the D struggling in the 2010s era to winning a flag. What's the roller coaster like in that journey?
This is one of the cool things you get to talk on when you've been loyal to a club for a long time. That's been loyal to you as well. I should have got the arse a few times, and not that I could have left. I always signed contracts really early before clubs could even talk to me because I didn't even want to have that chat. So we've both been loyal, but it allows you to answer this question. It allows you to answer what the tough times are like, what the fun times have been like. Someone's coming to my front door.
Because there's teams that are going in cycling, talking about the sport. Like there's teams in some pretty tough times right now, and there's teams that are flying, and we've seen teams evolve over that. Didn't you get the door?
No, they didn't ring the doorbell, so I'm presuming it's a parcel. Yeah, it is.
More free stuff.
I don't get free stuff, mate. You do, apparently. No, look, what I will say is you meet a lot as a bad team, but you have to. And there's always a good things. Good teams party and bad teams meet, or whatever that saying is. But that you have to meet to be able to become a good team. You have to work out what's going on. You have to get as much information as you can. I read a lot. I read a lot from other sports and other leaders. Key findings. In fact, I've got a few cycling books up there behind you. That there's a couple of little quirks from cycling that you can get.
Yep.
The Peter Sagan book, Never Meet Your Heroes.
Geraint Thomas.
Jerry Ryan. That book's in there now.
Yep.
So you learn a lot from different sports and whatnot. I think the key part when you're down.
Max Gawn, Captain Diaries.
Is that in there?
It's also up there.
It's a good book, that one.
It's a good book.
Is the lows are never as low and the highs are never as high. You just got to try and stay level-headed. But when you are in a low or your team is in a low, you have to not bunker down. You have to go almost become an extrovert and learn as much as you can, and try and suss out all the different ways there are to lead football clubs and play football. What's the word I'm looking for? What's the word when you're really open?
You're curious about what...
Curious is a great word. Be curious.
Like, do you think we saw that with Astana? We saw the point system come in and this team was kind of lost and nowhere.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden they're winning Giro stages.
From the outside looking in, yes. I feel like that wouldn't have been a chat at HQ just because I don't know how... Is it a Russian team or is it Kazakhstan team? And now Chinese. I'm not sure how the Kazakhstan and Chinese work in leadership space.
Yeah.
But from the outside looking in, yes, it does look like they've had a roundtable chat. Let's be vulnerable. We want to stay in this comp and we don't want to ever be in relegation battle ever again. How do we do that? So they've learnt. They've gone and they went and didn't they get an IT guy who's got nothing to do with cycling? Like they went and outsourced.
Got the stats in.
Yeah. That's what you got to do. You got to be curious. You got to be open to anything when you are down the bottom and learn as much as you can. It's similar when you're at the top. One of my favorite things about culture, one of my sayings, not mine, probably not copyrighted, is the day you think your culture's good and you stop, your culture's not good. It's literally an everyday thing. So the day Astana think, wow, we eclipsed it. We've managed to beat the system. And they stop doing what they're doing and stop working on who they are, they'll be straight back down to 17th and fighting for relegation.
Unlike Astana looking good, but you never know. Have you been in teams where it's looked good and hasn't been good inside?
In that Mark Neil Craig era, we wanted to get as fit as possible. We brought a pretty high-class fitness coach over from St Kilda and Sydney Swans, Dave Misson. And the idea behind the Dean Bailey era was we were soft mentally. So Neildy got this and said, I want to go hard with these guys. If you look who's left from that group, Gawn, Jones, sorry to speak myself in third person, Gawn, Jones, Viney, Tom McDonald, we all sort of love hard work. So you really had to love hard work to get through that era. We had 10 to 15, I reckon 15 guys under 10 minutes for a 3K time trial. And I know we've got fitness freaks in here, and I dare say 90% of our podcasts sit under 10 minutes for a 3K. But you got to remember, we're footballers. We're a bit bigger. And nowadays, if we did a 3K and now, we'd probably have 5. A lot of guys sit around 10:10. That's like a normal time. Not many people break 10. We had 15 guys, including like 6 right on the 9-minute mark. Like incredibly high running athletes. And we came last. Dan Nicholson, who was our best runner, ran an 8:58, I think, 3K time trial. He tagged Stevie J for a whole game, and Stevie J doesn't look like a 10-minute runner. He looks more like a 12-minute runner. He kicked 7 and had 37. So we quickly learned that fitness wasn't the be-all and end-all in our game, and there was a whole lot more things to it. So that's one where we looked good, felt good, pre-season was great, and then we got to football and we're like, oh, yeah, nah.
Yeah. Did it...
Even I got to 10. I think my PB's around 10:10 or something, and I got to 10:10.
You ran a sub 10?
No, not sub 10. Never been sub 10.
What, 10 minutes on the dot?
I think I was just over 10:10.
Yeah. Was it demoralizing when you got to round 1, round 2, and it wasn't like, oh my God, like we've been in the off season?
What we did for sacrifice that pre-season, we had a hardcore training regime. We went to Darwin for 10 days to sleep in the barracks to do an army camp. Darwin was incredibly hot. The barracks were incredibly boring. Monday, Fridays were huge, and then Wednesdays we called. How do I politically change this? It was 3 big sessions on Wednesdays. Wednesdays was a tough day. I think those playing at home could imagine what we called Wednesdays. They were the hardest David Roden and Shannon Burns come from different teams, and they both said it's the hardest pre-seasons they've ever done. And Burnsy's won flags. You're like, oh. So if it wasn't as hard in Geelong, are we doing the right thing? So you get to round 1 and you're like, we're fit as everything. We've all sacrificed everything. We all got asked to go on the paleo diet, which is no carbs.
Really?
So we all went on the paleo diet. My skin folds and my body comp was the best it's ever been. And then I get to a ruck contest and I was thrown to the ground. So it's like, it wasn't the be-all and end-all. I wish we knew that at the time. I'm glad that we tried it. Like I got as fit as I could, and it's a great ceiling that I could get to. But it wasn't the way to win games of footy.
So pre-flag, what was different?
We probably put a bit more emphasis on between the years, and creating the best, emotionally cultured team we could, without overthinking it, of course. And then we had a great game plan at the time as well. I think 2020, 2021, maybe a bit of 22, the best defensive teams were clearly winning. In fact, to win a flag, you sort of got to be in the top 6 defensively anyway. But in particular, in our era of being good, we had an unbelievable defence and we're winning games defensively so well. That aged poorly with Melbourne, obviously, those playing at home. We then became a team that couldn't score at all, and now it's changed to being able to score. But during the era of defence, that's what got us a flag. We had unbelievable defensive game plan.
Yeah. The 5 years after that to now, when Kingy's just joined the club, did the team change? Like, what was the evolution of, you talk about being at the top? What changed after that?
To be fair, I'm not holding any grudges. I felt like 22 and 23, we were a chance to do a three-peat.
You were more or less at the top.
We were a chance to do a three-peat. We ran out of luck in the finals. Well, I mean, we lost 4 finals. People reckon it's because our game plan wasn't great, but you just got to remember, one of them was against Carlton and Blake Acres scored a goal with 20 seconds to go. One of them was against Collingwood, and we absolutely, 99% of times, apparently you win that game with the stats we had. I get it, we didn't win, but we gave ourselves the best chance to. And then the year before, we had the most injuries I've ever seen anyone get pre a final series, including 3 or 4 guys playing injured. So 2022, luck was against us, didn't go away. 2023, we gave it a red hot crack. We just lost 2 finals by kick. So we were there for 3 years. We won 1, went top 4 the next 2, just didn't get there. So the game plan stacks up. Does anyone think Sydney's game plan doesn't stack up? The fact they've lost a couple of grannies over the last few years? No, they've just lost the grand final. Their game plan stacks up. They beat Who won the granny last year? I forget. Brisbane.
Brisbane beat Geelong.
Yeah, and I'm sure Sydney beat Brisbane during the home and away
Yeah.
at some point.
Yeah.
But they're just on that grand final day, Brisbane played a better brand of football.
I guess I'm just interested in that point where you're obviously really close with Goody. Like, did you know that you needed change at the top? And I know it's easy in hindsight now that
I didn't know that. I don't think this is where the best leaders live. The best leaders can foresee the need for change. I didn't see it necessarily. I liked change, but I also heard great things around like the Dimmer Hardwick stories when they changed everything around him and kept him.
Yeah.
Every time there was change at the football club, it was beautiful. But you never, that's maybe my weakness as a leader. I don't necessarily, it could be a strength. I back the people in around me. There's a sense of loyalty there. But also I don't necessarily foresee it. I'm like, oh, but then when it happens, it's like, okay, I get what they were doing. This is cool. And it's happened every time. Every coach movement they've done, every CEO movement they've done, every assistant coach, player movement, you go, oh, really? Did we need to do that? And then 4 weeks later, you're like, huh.
Yeah. And you just don't think you have that skill. Like in 3 or 4 years' time, if do you think you could see that Kingy needs to change, or you need the strength conditioning coach to change, or you need whoever it is?
I don't think football's different. Well, sorry, sport's different, I think, than an everyday world. I feel like a CEO in an industry, banking, let's take that. They're overseeing a lot of things, where a player, we're in the grunt of it. I don't think the expectation is for me to be able to have my eyes that wide open to be able to foresee change. So I feel like hopefully in my next life, that is something that can come naturally to me. And I also think, like, I'm speaking sort of loosely, I actually think I do, in the back of my mind, sometimes think about that. Like, I did not ever not think about Goody being sacked, particularly when it's in the papers. It's like, oh, yeah, okay. But I don't necessarily foresee it. I think I like the loyalty aspect. I like backing people in.
Did you ever think you were going to get sacked?
It would have been a player getting sacked. Well, not, we've been delisted, but
not sacked, but or like the captaincy going somewhere else, or.
Yeah, I'm probably the only leader left. Alan Richardson, football manager, and me, captain, are probably the only two that have been strong for a while, and we're still holding on. Yeah, I'm not necessarily, like, I think it's a good show that we were onto something, and culturally we had some things happen within our four walls, but we were onto something. We were a side that come top 4 3 years in a row, and then we had to quickly rebuild and have a look at what Kingy's been able to do with the same list. So we were definitely onto something. So to clean sweep the whole place would have been a gross overstatement, I think. And they didn't do that.
Yeah. I'm just like wondering, like, are you just going through this turbulence in the team, just thinking like, yep, my leadership is this, I'm happy with it, I'm not worried about it?
No, I think I said that at the start of the interview. I constantly stuff up, and I'm open to feedback wherever. And if the day someone walks in and says you're not fit to be captain, I'll hand them the armband. I'll fight a little bit, but like I'm here for Melbourne Football Club.
Yeah.
The position's not mine. I'm just the owner. Not the owner. The hiree at the moment.
Yeah. If you were, like, we were talking to Zach Dempster about this, how hard it is to build culture, because you don't finish a training rider, you don't finish a Tour de France stage and go back into the club rooms as a full squad. If you were to build a team from scratch, like, where are you starting and what are the key pillars to nail that team?
A cycling team?
I think so, yeah. Stanley Street Social, WorldTour team.
I see a world where that's happening. I feel like, have you ever played Pro Cycling Manager? I gave it a go one day.
Yeah, a little bit.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a bit too much.
It's pretty intense. Yeah.
It's a pretty intense game. One of the Melbourne Football Club doesn't have this. We've been able to be successful without it. So is it that necessary? I think so. But Paul Guerra actually said this to me recently. Obviously not too recently, but about 2 months ago. He said, one thing Melbourne beats St Kilda, round 1. Big thing. A lot of people tipping St Kilda. We had their former captain play for our team, our home game. We get up, we win. We come to Monday and we have the girls' team is at Amy Park. The men's team have a day off. The admin are at the MCG, and the Melbourne Footy Department are at Casey. So we're everywhere, which is similar to a cycling team in a way. We're a different club, let's say, who's all together. Essendon, Collingwood, Richmond, all these guys have big infrastructures in the city where their whole club's at. They walk in on the Monday and their momentum continues. We have a momentum zapper. We're not all there seeing each other, which I think would be a great thing once we get a facility that all of us can be at. When that comes, I don't know. So that's one thing I've ever got in the world of cycling. This might limit me to the people I can get in my team. But I would make sure for that Zach Dempster October camp when he said nearly everybody was there, I'd make sure everybody is there.
Yeah.
And then the Zoom, if it's weekly or if it's monthly, everyone's logged on with their cameras on. You got to create some sort of family connection there in cycling. I know it's hard because they're all over the world, but there'd be key points throughout the year where I'd make sure we're all together.
Yeah, I was thinking too. You can't even make a team home ground unless you want the Belgians not to live at home. You want the Italians not to live at home.
I'm presuming you can't mandate in cycling where people live.
You could. You're their employer. You could put, we want you to live in. But cycling's got many traditions, and that is one of them, that there's no team base.
No.
DSM try to do it.
And they're going extremely well.
Well, no, it works for some people on a development level, as we know.
Yep.
They've developed more rides than anyone. But it also doesn't work for some people, and you can't get any long-term retention with the riders because eventually they want to move out.
That's one thing I'd love to do in cycling if I ever got in there. The other thing would be, I think there's from the outside looking in and then speaking to people I know in cycling, I feel like some sort of AFL selfless role playing leadership culture could work in cycling. Cycling does it really well with lead outs. These lead out guys are fully selfless and phenomenal. Could you get that to a 9-person team / 30-person riders globally? The way Jasper Stuyven rides for whoever he is leading out is something that I think could be captured for all cyclists somehow. And then celebrating Jasper. I know he's at the Wolfpack now, but did Mads Pedersen globally celebrate that he was winning things because of Jasper Stuyven? That's the big thing in football we try and do. I get interviewed. I'm the captain. I've played a good game of football, making sure I name Cade Chandler in my post-game interview. Because I can only do what I do because of him.
Yeah, and something to point about naming, that you see riders, and cycling media is old school in the sense that you get access to a few people, but it's the interview they have to do. Thanks to my teammates, thanks to the staff, but it doesn't often have that. Thanks to this rider, thanks for this person. That part's important.
Correct. Which is why I've gravitated to the way Trek ride, because they do 7 riders for 1 leader and ride very selflessly and role playing.
Yeah. And how the Rockets have given us access to that plan.
And then the other part is, which they both coincide. I love playing with Cozzy Pickett because I know, he's a gun, but I also know a lot about his backstory. And I'm in the room with him a lot. So then to be able to, I would happily go take his man for him so he can go do our offense. Because not only do I know he's a gun, but I also know his whole backstory. And I know how much he cares for me. It might be, I don't know, but is that happening when your team is all around the world?
I think it's happening in cliques, right?
Yeah.
It's like the Tour de France team.
Yeah.
But also on that...
They spend 3 weeks with each other in altitude camps that we don't get to do. So I'm hoping they do stuff like that.
Yeah, but then it changes. And also on that altitude camp, you're kind of competing with potentially a couple of guys there. Unless you're the team leader, unless you're Jonas, you're potentially going like,
which is happening in football. We have 45 spots and 22 players. That happens very regularly in football. You got to be happy for someone taking your spot. That's what the encouragement is. That's hard. I've had young rucks wanting my spot now for how long I've been in the AFL team? For 11 years.
You've been hogging that spot for ages.
Now I'm playing forward pocket. I'm out of it now.
Do you have to go? Or you just keep looking at your watch?
I just keep getting some notifications. I do have to pick my kids up from kinder I'll probably leave at 3:05, which gives us 40 minutes.
Okay, good. Because we've got a bit to talk about the Stanley St World Tour team.
We have done a bit of footy.
So on that training camp, end of season, what's it look like? What are the key things that we're trying to hit from a objective perspective, and then how are we getting them done? Like, what's the activity that facilitates?
If we had a cycling team, we're still talking
when we have a cycling team.
Well, we'd be having a whiteboard session first of all.
First thing.
Yeah, I think we'd be having a whiteboard. We'd be working out why we're all here. Whether we need a consultant to do that, like Zach said, he didn't want a consultant, but whether we did get someone, or we're capable of running the meeting ourselves. But we'd work out why we're here. We'd also, not that day and probably not that camp, but a few people would have an opportunity to tell me why they're a cyclist. I think gratitude in professional sport is a game changer and has been a game changer for me. If you can find why you play, and it could be in multiple things, and the scary thing is one of them could be money, and money is great, but if money's your driver, I'm unsure. Like, I've had teammates that have been that way, and they've been great teammates, but money's their driver. Money is obviously very important in a lot of people's life, but my driver is family, and my driver is the two part. I've got family and close friends, and then I've got the second part is definitely to see what I can get out of my body. I'm fascinated by that aspect. So they're my two drivers right now. So I'm keen to see what Esteban Chavez says. I mean, I say him because he would have an absolute dick swinging of a story, I dare say. We'd all be sitting there clapping for half an hour. So to hear those stories...
We're going to do it in front of the group.
Yes.
This is in front of the group.
It's in front of the group. Yeah. It's called a Triple H, is the one we do. Highlights, heroes, and what's a bad word? What's a story for like highlights, heroes, and I don't even know what the third word for H is. You type that into Google now.
Yeah.
Triple H leadership. Type that in.
It says hand, head, heart. Hero, highlight, hardship.
Hardship.
Yeah. That's
the word I was looking for. So heroes, highlights, and hardships. You get a few of those in, so you're storytelling. I think the power of storytelling is immense. Learning more, but you got to use it in a thing. So for ages, I thought, you know what's not helping me kick a footy through the goals? Knowing that Alex Clements loves his mum. Like, that's not something that helps me kick a goal. I used to be that way, like a bit cynical in my viewing. But what it does know that I know you love your mum is I know why you play football, and I know why I want to be on your team. And I know, so that will subconsciously help me kick the goal knowing you're there with me. So the power of storytelling is that way. So that's how I'd set up my first game. Obviously, then I'd have the best high performance team in the world. That's also, after that Triple H, they then go for a 9-hour ride and do all their altitude things. So you're never substituting the work, because the work needs to be done. But I think you can work around that and make sure you're doing some sort of cultural setup.
I think we both agree, though, that professional cycling is at the cutting edge of that part. The
cutting edge of high performance.
It's the sports science, the nutrition, the aerodynamics. It's out of control.
Even hearing stories about the guy who got under 2 hours marathon, having a gel every 20 minutes or whatever he had.
Yeah.
Like, that's been happening in cycling for a while now.
Yeah.
Like, cycling's ahead of marathon running. Who would have thought?
Everyone's doing it.
Yeah. Is Poggi, we was having this chat the other day, is Poggi the best athlete in the world?
Yeah, of all time.
Is Poggi the best athlete in the world? Is he better than the sub 2 hour marathon guy?
Yeah, he is.
He is.
He can do more.
And he's been ahead cycling's been ahead of the calorie game for a long time.
but also his ability to he's changed an entire sport.
Who's got the better zone 2 work?
The marathon guy would.
Yeah. But Pokey zone 2 is pretty good.
The difference is the Pokey can go above it.
Yeah.
I've talked to Jimmy Whelan about this, former cyclist, now runner. He's like, my threshold is ridiculous. But the difference between his threshold and his max is tiny.
Okay.
Whereas Pokey's ability to ride, that
would be me.
To go to 1,000 watts and then just settle back into 320, it's like, it's nuts.
I'm that way inclined. My 3RM is the same as my 1RM in bench press. Fun fact. Similar with squat as well. My 3RM is the same as my 1RM.
What are you squatting?
We're chucking out numbers.
Yeah. We asked Flaffy these numbers.
Last time I squatted for a 3RM, I think it was around the 220 mark.
Okay. And bench press?
Bench press, I'm not as good. I sort of sit at like 130.
220 is ridiculous.
I'm a big boy. Which I probably should be more for 110 kilos.
Yeah,
but I've got to look after the back. I'm too tall.
Okay, so we're defining the hero, hardship, and highlight.
Yeah, that's something that we wouldn't. That's not the be all and end all, but learning more about our teammates certainly is something.
Yeah. What else are we doing?
That's staff as well.
So we're going to get the entire playing
group and entire staff are there for that day.
Everyone down to the Swannies, the technicians, everyone.
Yep, we're all there. And they've all got the right to tell their story as they're the highest paid or lowest paid. Anyone.
Yeah.
Put all their numbers in a hat. Whoever gets pulled out, we're hearing from the mechanic today.
Yeah. Tade gets as much time as the intern.
Correct. But I'm presuming that's only a week. So we've only got a week to do this. But then throughout the time, unfortunately, you'll be in your clicks, but it's Tour de France training camp time. You haven't done your Triple H, Pokey. Do you want to do one?
But then you have the whole group there.
Yeah,
you kind of need to.
That hurts.
This is the problem.
That's the problem with cycling.
Yeah. Yeah. And you got to get them. You don't want people sitting down for too long.
I'd love my sponsors to be there. Let's say I'm Little Trek. I'd love Little. I love Trek to both be there.
Yeah.
And I'd love to be able to work out why they've sponsored, why they came to our team. So you're feeling that love with the sponsorship. So you're all whole.
So lots of talking.
And then they're riding. Get the head of Trek. He might be the non-rider. Get him out on one of the bunch rides.
From a commercial perspective, yeah. What about how you're managing, I guess, like that list management around who's getting picked for the Tour de France? And I guess those objectives, like getting everyone on the same page when there's people can have individual pages.
Yeah, you're backing in whoever's role that is. I would never come over.
Thanks, Max.
Thanks, Alex.